What's up, everybody? Tobin here with you. Thanks for tuning on in. Getting juicy here on a Flex Friday. Hope everybody had a great week and is having a great week. And if you guys like the Tobin and Leroy radio program and you like watching our silly sauce, check us out. YouTube.com/TicketMiami. Appreciate all the support you guys are giving us there. Just as we got off the air today, Mike McDaniel addressed the Stephen Ross suspension, team fine / losing a draft pick. And figured we'd hear what Mike McDaniel had to say about it, because obviously, you know, it's interesting in situations like this because he was not here. He obviously doesn't really know the backstory, at least from the standpoint of what it means for him, because, the plan was for there to be another coach with Tom Brady. So it's kind of an awkward thing, I think, for him to have to address. But he does have to address it because the Dolphins have done this thing over the last couple of years with all the controversies that they've dealt with. They leave it for other people to answer. So the first person who really has to address it is Tua. Deshaun Watson pursuit, Tua's got to answer it. And you kind of get it with that because, okay, it affects his job. But this really doesn't. In regards to the first pursuit of Brady, I guess maybe you could talk about it again for this past offseason, but the damage is kind of done there. And that's why he doesn't really, I think, can give you anything in depth. But Mike McDaniel, it's a fascinating thing because you are really talking about a direct effect of him getting the job. And so I thought it'd be interesting to see what Mike McDaniel had to say about it. But I think, unsurprisingly, didn't go too much into it. Here is Mike McDaniel addressing the media.
Well, you said a key thing in that statement where you're not sure if it involves, the people on the field. So that right there, the most important thing as a head coach is that is your entire focus. So you can say a lot by saying a lot or not saying anything at all. We have an incredible challenge in front of us as the 2022 Dolphins. I think the players I think the players are owed complete and utter focus on that. So I think there's power in not giving legs to something that doesn't really affect those 2022 players that really deserve full and unabided attention, So I think that's something that you can. The biggest thing is that players have an objective that day. Players are owed a lot by coaches for what they sacrifice. So I wouldn't I wouldn't do them the disservice by spending any time on things that aren't 100% focused on what's important to them and their job at hand, which is making a football team and then being held accountable for their efforts moving forward on game days.
So not a lot to address there in regards to anything because he said nothing. He spent about 97 seconds saying words and a lot of words all over the place. The best thing that you got out of it is, I'm not going to allow it to distract from what I have to do for the team because it doesn't really matter, which it doesn't. I mean, from the standpoint of what this team has to deal with, it really doesn't affect them. And I think that's probably the brightest spot out of all of this is that everybody is very excited for this particular season. This drama is going to come back because, funny enough, Stephen Ross's suspension ends the week before Sunday Night Football when they take on who? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who Brian Flores now works for. So it's not that there's no drama in it at all. There definitely will be storylines once that comes back because it'll be a thing. Will Stephen Ross ever address this? That's going to be an interesting thing. He puts out a statement that was pretty laughable. I mean, in regards to, I'm cleared of everything. I was proven that this Brian Flores was a liar. And it's like, well, doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like that was the case very much. It sounds like they just kind of couldn't prove tanking, which I really don't have a problem with. I mean, everybody in this sport tanks. We see it all over the place. I think the thing that's interesting, the thing that I'm always going to find the most fascinating about the Brian Flores relationship with this is that I feel like we all knew the Dolphins were going to suck his first year. I'm sure he had that idea too. The pursuit or not wanting to pursue Tom Brady is going to be the thing that I thought the first time is always going to be the one that's weird to me. And I'm not going to, I always going to wonder from him, was it because I don't buy that it was just tampering. I mean, that just, he's not that much of a Boy Scout. Let's be real about it. But I am always going to wonder, like, did he just think the guy was washed because he had been around Brady? The last year Brady with the Patriots wasn't fantastic. Or two, was there not a fantastic previous relationship there with Tom Brady? Or three, did he just kind of feel weird blending over Patriots, Dolphins relationships because of, his time there? I would say probably not, because he's had plenty of former coaches that joined the staff. But that'll always be the weird one, because ultimately I think it was kind of the death blow to his career, because if the Dolphins aren't so into going after Tom Brady again, he's probably still the head coach. But I think that, Brady is not going to feel snubbed one time, the whole, you're going to stick with that mother bleeper, Ryan Fitzpatrick, over me, and still want to be coached by that guy. So that'll always be a fascinating thing for me. With Mike McDaniel not having to dedicate anything to that, I get it. But I almost feel like in his case, he's like, look, I don't know what happened, but all I just want to say is I'm glad whatever happened, because it ended up with me becoming the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, because that's the truth of it. Like, if anybody benefited out of this lawsuit and this failed pursuit of Sean Payton, it is Mike McDaniel. He is the guy who was looked upon as the fallback plan, and that's fine. Look, sometimes fallback plans work. Larry Zonka talked about this week with Bear Bryant. Bear Bryant was supposed to be the Dolphins head coach. Who they ended up with? Don Shula, when everybody thought it was going to be a mess up. That's why Zonka referenced it was such a cool thing that Larry Zonka referenced, where it's like, yeah, we all went into this idea that we were going to have this legendary guy, and we ended up with this fiery, soon-to-be legend in Don Shula. So I don't know. I thought it was it's saying a lot of words because you don't want to affect your boss, right? But I almost feel like when you continue to say nothing and you play the game of, oh, nothing's happening, I feel like it just makes the thing go longer and longer and longer. What really should probably happen is Chris Greer should probably address the media about it, because the biggest thing that really affects the team is the fact that they were punished draft picks, and Chris Greer knows everything that went down. So if I were them, and I know that the news broke, I think on a Tuesday, I would have walked over to the podium either that day or the next day and just fired away questions and just kind of been done with it, other than a laughable statement from the owner. But as far as Mike McDaniel is concerned, nobody should be more happy about what happened with Brian Flores and Sean Payton and all of this. The lawsuit, it benefited him greatly. The other part of this, though, is the idea that, they did pursue Tom Brady again. How should his quarterback feel about this? And here's Mike McDaniel.
If you're a starting quarterback in the National Football League and you don't think that there's competition always, then that's not the way to look at it. You look at it like you're going that you're going to go attack this job, and it's your job to show everyone exactly who's the best person for it. Whether or not Tua himself feels X, Y, or Z, the only thing I know is what he speaks to me about, and that's how confident he is in the way he's playing and his skill set. And I know his teammates are very confident in what he's developing. So that's a cool part. That's a cool process to be involved in. And I think, I haven't seen anything from Tua that would lend me to believe that he's affected in the slightest by all the stuff that goes on that he can't control.
I agree with that. And the other thing is, like, I always say this about, Tyler Herro with the Miami Heat, is that he's got a black belt in trade rumors. Tua Tagovailoa has a black belt, and the Miami Dolphins thought of replacing him. Like, he went through all of this last year in a much more public setting and an ongoing thing. He's not going to have to worry about the pursuit of Tom Brady this year. Now, there's still a lot of pressure on him, don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of expectations on this team and everybody that they brought in. So that has its own pressure, which he knows. But the idea that, this is going to affect him all, he's not going to be asked to. Maybe there'll be something that Brady says next week that will cause some kind of a ripple effect. But I think unless he goes in there and starts stinking up the joint and there's like real drama about maybe starting Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think it's going to be a thing, man, because I think that he knows he's got a lot of weapons around him. He seems uber confident going into this year. And he does have the backing. He was talking this week glowingly about how much he loves the openness that he's allowed to go talk to Mike McDaniel about what he's comfortable with, what he's not comfortable with, what works, what doesn't. I don't think it's going to be a thing. But, it is definitely... It is definitely just an interesting domino that was just dropped this week. Sucks that they lose the first round pick. I just think that's way too harsh. I think embarrassing Stephen Ross is enough of it because, it's tampering, but they didn't get the guy, first of all. So I think just the humiliation of you got caught tampering, I don't think it warrants taking away a first round pick. A draft pick, okay. A third round pick, slap on the wrist. I think that's what it is. Like, that's the humiliation of it. But first round pick, it just seemed way over the top to me as far as that's concerned. One cool thing before we get to it, there was a roster move made today. Pause down. Tough. Tommy Heatherly, the second punter in camp, he was waived. He was with FIU, so that was a bummer. Sorry for the Panthers, but Morstead's going to be the punter anyway. They're just bringing in competition. They brought in Sterling Hoffricher. So he is a 7th-round pick in 2020 by the Falcons, and he is now in camp with the Dolphins as well. So that's a roster move made for them. And this last piece that I thought was really cool was from Mike McDaniel. He was asked about Javon Holland and just the smarts that he plays with. But Mike McDaniel had a pretty cool revelation going on between Javon Holland and what he's got going on with Tua Tagovailoa.
It has been really, really cool watching Tua and him compete. And that's an odd thing to say, but like in regards to a safety versus a quarterback. But, he plays all over the place. He communicates the defense from the call from the sidelines, and he's a student, and I think Tua respects that, and they've kind of got a nice competitive bond going, and it speaks to how football smart he is, how to, the things that he does on the football field are super exciting for the Miami Dolphins moving forward, and he is athletic and has a lot of skills, but none of that even matters if he doesn't have a brain for football and a commitment to football like he does.
Yeah, I mean, that is a cool way to put it, that you have, two of your young studs having this battle going out throughout camp. And, we know that the tweet that Javon Holland put out last week after the bomb went out, in Tua we trust, which is a cool thing to see from a defensive guy. A lot of support. They had a cool interaction also we saw right before Tua spoke to the media this week. But yeah, Javon Holland is, stating the obvious here, but the dude just looks like an absolute stud in the making. And some of the things that he does on a day-to-day basis in practice, you're just like, holy crap, this guy is good. He really looks like he's going to be something absolutely special for Miami.